And this one looks like a really fun tableau builder where players are all going to be starting out with their own castle card, and then players are going to be trying to gain more buildings throughout the game, adding them to their tableau and building up their kingdom in order to gain new actions for each building that they're able to build. At the start of each round, the market's going to be refreshed with new buildings for players to potentially purchase, with those buildings being drawn from the building deck, which is actually ordered into several eras, with the later eras having more powerful buildings. The cool thing about building buildings is that if you have the resources to be able to purchase them, you can just go ahead and put them into your tableau. But if you already have a building in your tableau, you can actually trade them in to cash them in for those resources and pay for that new building. This of course means that you do lose your existing building, but it's just a nice option to have. And buildings can have all sorts of different effects, like allowing you to defend your kingdom or earn different resources, or even have ongoing or passive effects that players can take advantage of. Then there's also actions on cards that can only be used once per round. Of course, there are some cards that do grant you with victory points or different requirements in order to earn victory points. And finally, there's cards that do allow you with strength in order to attack your opponents, because whenever you attack an opponent in this game, you're not actually attacking them. Instead, you're going to be attacking their buildings, because on the left-hand side of each building card, there's going to be an amount of strength that that building has. And if you're able to accumulate enough attack power from the cards in your tableau to get a value that's higher than your opponent's building strength, then you can actually attack that building. And if they're not able to defend against it using any of their defense cards, which essentially will cause them to use that card early, making it unavailable in their next turn. And these cards usually do have multiple actions, which means that if you use this card for defense out of turn, then you won't be able to get those other benefits when it is your turn. But as I was saying, if they're not able to defend against it, then they're going to be flipping the attacked card over to its gray side, which essentially loses all its abilities, and they're not going to be able to make use of that building until they're able to fix it, which they'll have to do by spending the amount of resources in the top right corner. But when a card is flipped over to its damaged side, it still will have a strength value on it, and if it gets attacked again, then the card actually gets discarded from your tableau, and you're no longer able to salvage anything from that card. But like I said, there's a bunch of different cards offered in this game, and since you're only going to be purchasing a few of them, and also the ones that don't get purchased are going to be completely washed each and every round, that means that players are only going to be experiencing a small subset of cards each time they play this game, which is going to make each game feel very different than the last. Each card in your tableau does count as a single action, which means that when you do use that card, you're going to be tapping it to indicate that it has been already used. But of course, you are allowed to resolve these in any order, and also the more cards that you get in your tableau, the more actions that you'll have on your turn. Players are also limited to purchasing just one building on their turn, but when they do purchase a building, that does go into their tableau built and ready to use, so you're also able to use it on the turn that you purchased it. But if you're not able to purchase a building, you do have one other option here, and that's to use these different action cards. And these are completely free in order to take from the shared market. But of course, these are one-time use, and they're going to be going back into the market after you use them, unlike your buildings that you get to keep for the rest of the game. So you probably just want to be taking this action when it's absolutely necessary. But the game continues like this until all the building cards run out, and then at that point you determine which player has the most victory points, and then that player wins the game. If you do want to check this one out, I will have it linked in the description below, and of course you can click to get notified.